This lesson is on dividing mixed numbers. Please make sure you have your graphic organizer ready with you to take notes. First things first, what is a mixed number? Well, a mixed number is a whole number with a proper fraction. Some examples are 4 1/2, 7 2/3, 9 7/8. When you're dividing mixed numbers, the first thing we need to do to divide them is to change the mixed number to an improper fraction. This makes it easier to work with when you just simply have a numerator and a denominator. So let's look at what 4 1/2 means. Well, as you can see, we have pictures here. There are 4 whole rectangles and then half of another rectangle. So, this one over here is our little half. But if we wanted to put it all in the form of halves, how many halves are there in 4 1/2? Well, let's break it down, each of these holes into a half. So if those are all halves, let's now count them. Let's make sure we realize those are all 1/2. I'd hate for anybody to come back later and say, now what were those pieces? All right, so those are all 1/2s. Well, let's count how many halves we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we could say 4 1/2 is equal to 9 halves. Now right there we've changed that mixed number into an improper fraction, 9 halves. 9 halves would be much easier to work with when we're multiplying or dividing fractions. Go ahead and stop the video here so that you can take notes and make sure you write all this down. Well, there's an easier way to change a mixed number to an improper fraction rather than drawing out visuals every single time, but it is good to understand what it means that we're doing. The steps of changing a mixed number to an improper fraction: step 1, multiply the denominator times the whole number. So we're going to multiply, in this case, 2 times 4, which is 9. Step 2, you're going to add the numerator. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Then that 9 is your new numerator, but you keep the same denominator. So we still end up with our 9 halves. To review, multiply the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator. That gets you your new numerator, but you keep the same denominator. Let's do another one. First, let's take 6 2/3 and change that to an improper fraction. Step 1 is we're going to take our denominator of 3 times our whole number of 6. We're going to multiply. 6 times 3 is 18. Then we're going to add the numerator. 18 plus 2 is 20. So we have 20 over our denominator of 3. So 6 2/3, if we were to draw that out and divide that into thirds, we would get 20 thirds. An easy way to check and make sure you're doing this right is if you take your improper fraction, in this case 20 thirds, and you divide it out to change it back to a mixed number. In other words, you take the numerator divided by the denominator. 3 goes into 20 6 times, subtract, and we get 6 2/3. So 6 2/3 is equivalent to 20 thirds. It's just easier when you multiply and divide fractions if you're doing it with a full fraction rather than a mixed number. Okay, now that we have a pretty good understanding of mixed numbers to improper fractions, let's divide some mixed numbers. In our example, we're going to take 4 1/3 divided by 2 4/5. Step 1, change any mixed numbers to improper fractions. Well, 4 1/3, we're going to take 3 times 4 plus 1, which is 13 thirds. 2 4/5, we're going to take 5 times 2 plus 4, which is 14/5. Now, step 2, keep the first fraction the same. Change the division to a multiplication and write the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now we look and see if you can reduce a numerator and a denominator. I don't believe we can, so we're going to go ahead and multiply across. I'm going to come up here to the top in my little work area. I didn't leave me much of a work area. We're going to take 13 times 5. 5 times 3 is 15, carry 1. We have 65. And 14 times 3 is 42. So we have 65 over 42, and now we need to reduce. That is an improper fraction. We need to change it back to a mixed number. So in this case, we're going to take 65 divided by 42. Now 42 goes into that one time, subtract, and we get 23 over 42. So our final answer is 1 and 23 over 42. And that's our final answer. Make sure you write all these notes down before you go on to the next slide. Let's do another one, where this time we're going to take 6 and 5/9 divided by 1 and 7/9. Now step 1, change any mixed number to improper fraction. So the first fraction, we're going to take 9 times 6, which is 54, plus 5, which is 59 over 9. Next one, we're going to take 9 times 1, plus 7, which is 16 over 9. Step 2, keep the first fraction the same. Step 3, change the division to a multiplication. And step 4, write the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now, see if you can reduce a numerator and a denominator. Well, we can. We have a 9 as a numerator and 9 as a denominator. We can divide them both by 9, change them both to 1. So now we have 59 over 16. Reduce, that's improper, so we're going to take our numerator divided by our denominator. And how many times will 16 go into 59? Hopefully you got 3. 16 times 3 is 48. Subtract, and we have 11, which becomes our new numerator, and 16 is our denominator. So our final answer is 3 and 11/16. Make sure you write all this down before going on to the next slide. Let's do some more together. This time I didn't put the steps on there. Let's see if we can remember how to do it. We're going to take 7 and 2/3 divided by 5 and 1/9. What was step 1? Okay, hopefully you said change the mixed numbers to improper fractions. So the first one, we're going to take 3 times 7 plus 2, which is 23 over 3. Second fraction, we're going to take 9 times 5 plus 1, which is 46 over 9. Step 2, we're going to keep the first fraction the same. We're going to change the division to a multiplication, and we're going to write the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now, do you see any numerators and denominators that share a common factor? Well, I do. We have 3 and 9. We can divide both of those by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. Do you see any others? Well, in this case, 23 and 46 both share a common factor of 23. 23 divided by 23 is 1, and 46 divided by 23 is 2. Now, multiply straight across. We get 3/2, which is improper. So now I have more of a work area. We're going to take our numerator divided by our denominator, and you should get 1 and 1/2. And 1 and 1/2 is our final answer. Let's do another one together. We have 3 and 3/7 divided by 5 and 6/7. What's the first step? That's right, change our mixed numbers to improper fractions. In this case, we're going to take 7 times 3, which is 21, plus 3 is 24 over 7. Then we're going to take our 7 times 5 is 35, plus 6 is 41 over 7. Now we're going to keep the first fraction the same, change the division to a multiplication, and write the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now we're going to look and see if there's any factors we can divide out. 7 and 7 is a numerator and denominator. They both share a common factor of 7. Divide them both by 7 and you get 1. Now let's look at 24 and 41. Do you think there's a common factor in there? Hopefully you said no. So we're going to multiply across. We get 24 over 41. Now, there is no way to reduce that, and it is proper. So this is our final answer. Please make sure that if you don't understand anything, to please take notes and ask me when we have class. And today's magical word is Mrs. Wilkins.